Good afternoon. Are we on 4 o'clock straight up on a Football Friday edition of What the Freak Friday edition of On Cue? As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. 2 hours to play with as we come at you live inside the friendly confines of the SR 1029 FM, the Game Remote Studios, part of the Coastal Sports Digital Network. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. Don't forget, get social with me. Very easy to do at Rich Q on IG, and of course on X, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic, the YouTube channel at Rich Q. And already I'm seeing some comments coming in. Hope everyone had a good Sports Thursday. You're enjoying your Friday, January 9th, 2026. Busy show, a lot of college football, a lot of NFL, a lot of movement going around in the world of sports. Costco in about 15, John Bueller in the 5 o'clock hour. And as we like to say, you guys out there, hashtag on cue. We are on X, YouTube, Kicks, SR 1029 FM, the Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network, AUDACY app, and Rumble as well. And as I mentioned, more platforms that we will be announcing going forward. And we might be, again, time-wise, we're always going to be live. It's just a question of what time during the week going forward. We got some good things in the work, which is really good as far as branding and some marketing, which I'm very excited and happy about. And again, it's because of you guys. You guys chime in religiously every day, and I greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, college football playoff, that was a hell of a game last night between Ole Miss and Miami. And if you kind of read between the lines in a game like that, you say to yourself, Ole Miss had a lot of opportunities to win this game. I mean, it was just one of those games that it was back and forth. I thought the kid, Chambliss, played well. I didn't think he played like outstanding. Just if you're really being fair here, you look at the numbers on the surface. Look, that kid's got to settle down a little bit and understand how to read defenses a little better. I thought Miami could have had 2 or 3 picks, maybe even 4 picks in that game, but it was back and forth. Ole Miss, again, kept throwing out punch after punch, jab after jab, body shot after body shot. Miami continued to just respond. And I know there are not a lot of college football fans that are enamored with Carson Beck. I get it. I mean, it's just I understand he's been around for a while now, has he not? But when you watch a game like that, Carson Beck made the throws late that he had to make, and during that final drive, which ultimately was the game-winning touchdown drive, he decided, I'm going to take it in with my feet. And last night, sure, he'll throw a pick here and there, but it was the legs late. It was the third down plays. It was the conversions. That was a hell of a game. It was back and forth. It was extremely entertaining. Hats off to Ole Miss. That sigh of relief was probably Lane Kiffin. That was a neck and neck game, right? It was neck to neck, but most part of the game. No team ever trailed by more than a score. And the fourth quarter, and I feel bad, for some people that were sitting there saying, hey, hammer the over, happy for you. For me, when I told you yesterday, you might want to play the under, we were looking pretty good going in the locker room, and then we saw 25 points in the fourth quarter. My apologies, but 31-27. But with that being said, it was a thrilling game. It was a competitive game. And I'll tell you, man, nothing would have made Lane Kiffin look worse if Ole Miss advanced to the national championship game. But it's going to be Miami. It's going to be the U. And we talked a little bit about Miami earlier in the season, beginning of the season, during the season, and right up to this point. They are absolutely legit. Tonight, Oregon, Indiana, here we go. And then the winner will play the Canes in the national championship. Very good game. Very good game. Very entertaining game. And I thought both quarterbacks played well. I did. But as I said, I'm not going to, sit there and say, Chambliss, he's going to be this all-pro, all-world quarterback, denied that 6th season by the NCAA. So, again, this kind of sets the stage now. He's going to come out. Carson Wentz, pardon me, tongue-in-cheek. Carson Beck, he'll probably be a late first-round draft pick like this kid. But it's going to be 1-2. It's going to be Mendoza. It's going to be Moore, and away we go. It was a good game. It was a It was a spirited game. Now you got number one Indiana, number five Oregon. And as I mentioned, they already faced each other earlier in the season. That was a 30-20 win in Eugene for the Hoosiers. And I thought that was a big program builder, right? We always talk about that. And I guess, the offseason narrative around Indiana, the losses to Ohio State, Notre Dame, that kind of lingered. And now they've kind of proved that, hey, we're going to go a different course right here. And we're no one hit wonder. That's going to be a fun game tonight. As I mentioned, Costco in about 10 to 15 on college football, Bueller in the 5 o'clock hour. As far as the NFL, so the coaching carousel, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop with some of these head coaches and some of these, really one GM spot available. And we pretty much have figured it out in Miami, which I believe now it might open up the door for another conversation, which we will have. I know a lot of Dolphins fans yesterday, first time commenters and listeners, and I appreciate you greatly, chimed in. And it looks like right now, one of the names we threw out there was going to be Packers GM, or I should say Sullivan, and Vice President of Player Personnel. Let me just be accurate. John Eric Sullivan. That's the name we threw out yesterday. It looked by all accounts he was in the running, and there you go. So now he joins the Dolphins after working with the Packers. So you can kind of do with that as you want. As where does that leave guys like Stefanski and Harbaugh? And I know the Dolphins have been linked to John Harbaugh. There are multiple sources that are saying that Miami is enamored with John Harbaugh. They're infatuated with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, if you listen to what some are saying in Baltimore and a couple other of the talking heads, he's going to want about 20 million plus in total control of the franchise and player personnel, which I pretty much told you this the other day. So this is not breaking news, nothing new. I pretty much told you the other day exactly what Harbaugh, I'm not going to sit there and say like the hostage negotiation, the list of demands, but we just kind of knew exactly what Harbaugh was going to want. And that was going to be a lot of power, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. So, I don't have any issue with Harbaugh wanting power. I don't have any issue with Harbaugh wanting control. But I'm telling you, if the Miami Dolphins, if they open that checkbook, and you got to consider what's going to be the more appealing spot as we debated yesterday, I'm not going to get antsy. I'm not going to get insecure as a Giant fan and sit there and say that Miami's a better landing spot than the Giants. I'm not. But it brings into question how some of these organizations are viewing certain head coaches. And that's something else I want to get into later today. Now we've got NFL wild card weekend. I still believe it's the greatest weekend in sports. Look, March Madness, the first couple of days, Final Four, sure, Game Sevens, but wild card weekend is always interesting. It's fascinating. And as you kind of look at where we're at in the NFL, you've got some veteran quarterbacks in there, you got some young teams in there, and their storylines all over the place. And what makes this weekend very appealing to me is the Packers and Matt LaFleur, the Bills and Sean McDermott. Not so much the Eagles and Nick Sirianni, but maybe more or less for offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, the Steelers, Mike Tomlin. So we're talking about coaches that have had success. Obviously, out of the three, Tomlin has had the most success. More recently, McDermott has had the success, and then LaFleur's right there winning his 12 to 13 games every season on the sidelines with Green Bay. What is the likelihood if the Bills lose, the Packers lose, and or the Steelers lose, that one of these head coaches is getting fired? And then you would throw again another coach into the mix, right? Another coach into the mix as well. So it's going to be an interesting kind of play as we watch it unfold this weekend in the NFL. I can tell you, again, the buzz now, and I'm going to give you a couple dark horses too, that Cleveland is prepared to pay Harbaugh. Cleveland's prepared to pay Harbaugh. They want that change of culture. They want that franchise builder, and it might be 22 plus as opposed to the 20 that we're hearing reported. Sean Payton makes 18. He's the highest paid coach in the NFL. So again, I'm not reporting anything. I'm just telling you what a little birdie told me, that do not cast aside the Cleveland Browns just yet, as crazy as it sounds. And the irony of that is that also keeps John Harbaugh in the AFC North. All right, 10 past the 4 o'clock hour. I know I mentioned Costco in a couple minutes. We'll punch them up early. I want to get to a lot of the comments coming through as well. And as I mentioned, keep us locked in at Rich Q, Kicks, Rumble, X, the YouTube channel, and of course, the Odyssey app, SR 1029 FM, the game, part of the Coastal Sports Digital Network. If you download the Odyssey app, you guys can search for us during the week. And as I mentioned, we've got some new platforms we will be discussing and pretty much unloading maybe in another week or two. We might have a little maneuverability with the show going live during the week, but we're still always going to be live. We just might hit off a little earlier, a little later, but we're excited about what's going down the boulevard and the pike. And we got a couple new sponsors. We'll mention them in the 5 o'clock hour as well. All right, 11 past 4 o'clock hour on a Football Friday edition of On Q. There's my guys. We welcome in our good friend from On 3 Sports, Nick Costco, and always good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, Rich. No complaints here. Obviously, a great football game last time. I'm sure we'll dive into in a second. Another one on tap today as well. So, yeah, college football. I can't believe it's almost over. NFL playoffs this weekend. So it's overall, this is one of the better weekends as
Yes.
we in the dreary month of January.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, listen. I mean, if you're a Giants fan, football stopped in September, maybe in August.
It stopped about 10 years ago, probably. With
Well, I mean, that's that. There you go. Then Costco comes in with the veiled shot in round number
It's
one.
not a
to the
Woosah
bye.
Wednesday. It's I don't even know what do you do on Fridays, by the way.
What the frig Friday? It's basically what made you say what the frig in the world of sports.
There you go. The Giants in the last 10 years.
So that's a what the frig right there for
Yeah,
you.
there you go. That's right.
Buddy boy. Good game last night. Great fourth quarter. A lot of drama. I do want to ask you this.
Mhm.
What do you think the national perception is when it comes to Carson Beck? I feel like either you like him, you loathe him. You're like, yo, man, just go away, collect Social Security. I'll just go enter the draft. I mean, the kid has overcome a lot, but a lot of people are like, he's a fraud. He's a fugazi. He's average at best. Well, guess what? He made the plays when he had to,
Mhm.
and then he made the biggest play of the season last night with his legs.
I got to imagine that he definitely gained a lot of respect last night, at least for me, because I've never been a huge Carson Beck guy, even dating back to I say dating back to those days at Georgia. That was just last year. He's a grad senior at Miami this year. But if you remember going into the 2024 season, so ahead of the 25 draft last year, he was considered maybe he's going to be the number 1 overall pick because he goes in to what was perceived to be his final year of college football, final year at Georgia, where if he keeps up at the pace he was in 2023, this guy's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And I know your Giants were like, oh, yeah, we're all about Carson Beck, right? So, but last year where, the stats were a little skewed, obviously. He put up decent, pretty decent numbers. Like, okay, yeah, he probably played pretty well, but if you look at Georgia last year, it was like, is Carson Beck the weak link? And then maybe he was, and inexperienced, and he wasn't experienced this year, obviously, with Gunnar Stockton. But Gunnar Stockton was thrown to the Wolves last year in the playoff game to lose to Notre Dame. Beck got hurt in the SEC championship game, so it's like, what is Carson Beck's future? He went from a guy that he was going to play at a Heisman level last year, turned into the number 1 overall pick. That didn't happen. Then he gets hurt, and all of a sudden, Georgia's like, well, you have a grad year. You're not going to stick around here. We're going with Gunnar Stockton. And Beck's like, all right, I'm going to explore my options in the transfer portal. And,
Right.
Obviously his relationship, off the field stuff, former relationship with one of the Convinder twins aside, and he ends up at Miami. But everyone's like, okay, Beck goes to Miami. It's like, is he really going to replace Cam Ward? Well, he kind of has. And he's, I know Cam Ward turned in Heisman-worthy type stuff last year and was the number 1 overall pick. I'm not saying Beck's going to be the number 1 overall pick, but Carson Beck, yeah, he saw those Carson Beck moments this year. The loss to Louisville where he was picked off, 4 times or 5 times, whatever the heck it was earlier this year. But I think he kind of resurrected himself last night. He played pretty well. And that drive last night, I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh, my God, Ole Miss is going to do this again.
Yeah.
Make Carson Beck drive the length of the field. Well, guess what? He drove the length of the field. Yes, there were some penalties too, but he made the throws he had to. He obviously runs it in for the touchdown for the game winner. I
Couple
mean,
big down, third
I
down.
I
Yep.
really think he did a lot last night where it's like, yeah, I would spend if I'm a quarterback needy team, maybe not a first round pick on him, but it's like, hey, you want to take a flyer on this guy in the second or third round? Maybe Carson Beck might be your guy. You sit him a couple years, and he turns into something because obviously he has propelled himself to being a more NFL ready type quarterback, and I think it's in large part due to Shannon Dawson, Miami's offensive coordinator. He's looked really, really good at times this year. Yes, you still need to rein him in a little bit, cut down on some turnovers, but I mean, overall, man, I mean, when you throw 2 touchdowns and about 270 last night, I know he threw a pick last night, but
Right.
throwing the game-winning touchdown as well. I mean, Carson Beck was poised, calm, cool, and collected to lead Miami to the national championship.
Yeah, listen, I mean, he makes plays when he needs to make plays. He's got that savvy. He's got that guile, right? He's had some injuries. He's done a really nice job coming back from some of these injuries. You know, it's funny
Mm,
you mentioned his ex. I mean, his current girlfriend. I mean, we'll just kind of leave that alone as it is right now. But he's got a little juice. You know, I would say maybe late first round or maybe second round, or you never know. Teams get enamored, right? We
Well,
we
yeah, I mean, you're
overvalue
right.
some of
They
these
could get
quarterbacks.
desperate, right? They could be like what the 30th overall pick for all we know. But somebody's like,
Exactly,
"Oh, someone's going to
exactly,
grab him. Let's trade
exactly.
up." But I would say, second or third round. Man, I'm no draft expert by any means, but I would imagine he's probably in that second to third round territory by the time we get to April.
Yeah. So listen, they made the plays when they had to. Miami's a very good team. You know, that sigh of relief Lane Kiffin because it would have been a major indictment on
Oh,
him if Ole
I
Miss
know.
wins that game. But it sets up where you have Oregon and Indiana right now.
Mm,
And look, I mean, we're looking at this quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. Everyone believes he's going to go number one, whether it's going to be
mm,
the Raiders or if the Raiders decide, you know what, we're going to trade back or whatever
mm,
it is, or the Jets. At this point, Indiana, you picked Indiana. You believe they're going to win it
mm,
all. I think for me, when I, pardon me, Nick, when I look at this game, um, I kind of, there's two schools of thought. Pardon me, I got on my fresh roasted coffee. I think, can Indiana do it again? Because they already
mm.
beat them, right? They already beat Oregon. Um, and I also say to myself, man, these cats are peaking at the right time.
Mm.
Indiana is. You're coming
Yes.
off an emphatic 38-3 win over Alabama. Now, Oregon, the quack, 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 they're tested too.
Yeah.
We know that. But as we always talk about the keys to the game, if if Oregon can't run the football and you lose Davison, I think he's been officially ruled out. If you can't run the football, I don't believe they don't have a shot at hell unless their defense is something miraculous. And Mendoza, plays like Mendoza batting 182 and just looks god awful out
Yeah.
there. I don't see if they can't run the football. I think they're in trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Oregon's even moved a couple defensive backs over to running back just to get them prepared for tonight's game or in preparation for tonight's game. So just goes to show you the lack of depth they have right now. Again, due to injuries. So what we saw in the Rose Bowl, Alabama couldn't run the football. Indiana takes advantage. And as I told you last week, if you find Alabama down 17-0 to Indiana, they're not going to win this football game. And that's what I said. And sure enough, it was 17-0, and the game ends up 38-3. So you mentioned Indiana peaking at the right time. Yes, I think they've been pretty much peaking all year. Yeah, obviously you want to play your best football down the stretch. I think they have. They've beaten Oregon already. They had that miraculous win against Penn State, but then the Big Ten championship game, while they didn't put up a lot of points, their defense showed that is a legit defense. We were talking about how good Miami's defense is, how good Ohio State's defense is, but they beat Ohio State at their own game in the Big Ten title game. And then you're like, okay, well, maybe Alabama got their swagger back, which I thought a little bit. I didn't think they were going to get blown out like that, Rich, but where everyone's like, okay, maybe Alabama has a little something going again. There's something cooking. Indiana just took them to the woodshed at that point. So, yes, Indiana's playing their best football right now. That's why they're favored. That's why I have them winning the whole thing anyway, since the playoff bracket was announced.
Mm-hmm.
But Oregon's peaking too. Remember, they only lost to Indiana this year, and it was a great game in Eugene. It was a pretty competitive game. Oregon's very physical, and I think you have arguably the best coaching matchup of these playoffs right now, because Kurt Cignetti has been setting the world on fire at Indiana over the last 2 years. Oregon, same thing with Dan Lanning. I mean, he's one of the best young coaches in America. I would say he's, depending upon who you ask, he might be the best coach in America that does not have a national championship right now, either him or Cignetti off the top of my head. And sure enough, they are playing each other tonight in the Peach Bowl. So, but it comes down to, as you mentioned, if Oregon can't run the football, you put a lot on Dante Moore's plate. Now, in Oregon's defense, I think more people would rather have the game put on Dante Moore's shoulders to throw the football for Oregon than Ty Simpson the other week for Alabama. Now, nothing taken away from Ty Simpson, who
Right.
played really, really well this year. But I think you'd rather have Dante Moore in this situation based on his track record this season. So, but Indiana to me is still favored in pretty much all areas. But because Oregon's already seen this team before, that line's only 3 right now, according to BetMGM. I think it's going to be a very close game, maybe in the mold of what we saw last night with Ole Miss and Miami. And as we've seen, it's very hard to beat a team twice. We saw with Georgia and Ole Miss. We thought, all right, this is a year Georgia. They're going to kind of return or have a chance to return to the top of the mountain. And Ole Miss beats them in the second time around without Lane Kiffin. You know what I mean? So I think they were playing with a little bit more fire just because they're going on that run in the playoff without Lane Kiffin.
But they're rolling though. Indiana's rolling, and you
Yeah,
mentioned you kind of you brought up the Alabama the comp with the quarterbacks. I would do
mm,
you one. I don't want to say one better, but I think that plays in tonight's game. You're talking about the OC Will Stein. You got to make adjustments tonight, right? So what
yeah.
about your run pass balance? So
Mm.
do you have more confidence in the quarterback balance, or are we leaning towards the ground game that has to maybe help out the quarterback? Like you can't we can't come on the air Monday and talk about the Ducks having 15 carries in this game. It's just
Yeah,
you've got to keep Indiana's offense off the field. So
yeah.
you can't go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You got to figure out a way to pick up chunk yardage. You got to keep moving the sticks. You got to keep moving the chains. I don't know if they can do that. And if they fall behind, if Mendoza and that Indiana offense is quick strike and you blink and you go up and check on the baby and get a little fresh roasted hot toddy, you sit down with the missus and it's 17-3 midway through the first, or after one quarter,
Mhm.
they're going to get waxed. They're going to get
Yeah.
absolutely blown out.
Well, in that situation, it might be time to turn on a movie. You know what I mean?
Oh,
We just
that's true.
yeah.
That's true.
Hey, we just watched Dunkirk. Might as well go through the whole Nolan category catalog at that point. So, Noah Whittington
Uh,
might play tonight. Yeah, he was listed as questionable according to yesterday's injury report. But as you mentioned, Jordan Davison's out. They have a couple other running backs that are out. Dewan Riggs is out. Jaden Lemire is out. But if Whittington plays, they might have a chance in that running game. But as you mentioned, I think that's the biggest key of the game. If Oregon can't keep a balanced offensive approach here, and they do find themselves down like Alabama was the other week, down 17-0, 17-3, 2 or 3 score game in the first quarter, mid-second quarter, they're in big trouble. But I think Indiana now, with the way Cignetti has coached this team, and I think the way he has molded the program's philosophy is they don't let up, right? Yes,
Correct.
they played some close games, and I'm throwing the 24 season out of it just because they that was a team that arrived early. You know what I mean? So, and obviously they lost to Ohio State, lost to Notre Dame in the playoff game. This team has been here. You know what I mean? They have a better quarterback under center. They have a great running game. They have the big uglies up front. They have a great defense, and they basically have 3 NFL wide receivers on their roster. So everything points in Indiana's direction. I'm still picking them. I'm not going to say Oregon's going to pull out the win here, but this game I think can be really close. But as we've discussed here multiple times over the course of the last couple of weeks, if Indiana's up on you, they're stepping on your throat. That is not a team
That's
built
fact.
right now in my mind that is going to allow you to get back into a game. If they're up 14-0, 17-3, heck, it could be 21-6 for all we know. You know what I mean? Going into halftime, they're not going to let up. They're not going to go on cruise control in the second half. They're going to let Mendoza air it out. They're going to hand it off to Hemby in the backfield. They're going to allow their defense to do its thing. They're going to stay aggressive, get pressure on Dante Moore's face. If they can't protect Dante Moore, they're going to be in serious trouble. And I think if Indiana gets up big, 2 scores or something along those lines, I think it could be another long night, and maybe not a 38-3 game, Rich, but maybe we'll see one of those, 35, 23 type of games.
Let me get some comments in here. Ann chimes in. Rich and Nick, the comparison I have for Carson Beck is either Chad Pennington, Jake Plummer, but I like this next comment. Let me pull this one up here. Honestly, do not think Trinidad Chambliss gets drafted. If he does, it's a 7th-round flyer. He's at best an undrafted quarterback or a camp invite.
Did we watch him play last night? Have you guys watched him
Well,
play this
listen,
season?
he played well. He kept them in the game. He showed a lot of guts, right? Uh, they could have turned him all over several times. I'm not going to stretch it, and I think this kid is uh, late first round or second round.
He's fun, man. I mean, I don't know if you got the actual enjoyment. I mean, we enjoy football. Did you when you're watching him just run around, scramble in the pocket, step up, and just absolutely throw lasers last night? I know they lost, but I mean, were you like, oh man, like I
This kid
think I
can
had
play.
audible,
He can play.
I
But
had audible, I
let's
had
not have
audible.
recency bias.
Yeah,
That's the problem. We
right.
have recency bias all the time.
Yeah.
So if he would have spit the bit, this comet might have a little water, right? And
Right,
it's
but
look,
I
it's
had
in their
audible
opinion.
gasps last night watching him throw the football. Now, I'm not saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but the guy threw for almost 4,000 yards this year in 15 games. That's a pretty good sample size for an NFL schedule as well. 22 touchdowns, he only threw 3 picks this year. His completion percentage was over 66%. So, I mean, he's throwing the ball really well, and he did it. And I get the coaches came back from LSU, you know, the Charlie Weisses of the world, they
Right,
came
right,
back,
right,
so
right,
there was
right,
at least
right.
continuity in the playoff. But again, you lose your head coach, and that could affect the whole team. It didn't affect him. I think he arguably played better as soon as Lane Kiffin left. He seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder, and it did come out today that the NCAA denied his 6 year
Correct.
eligibility waiver for next year. So he was going to go back to Ole Miss next year, but
Not
since that's
anymore.
not the reality now it's about the NFL. And don't forget, this kid was the D2 quarterback, so he proved that at the highest level of college football in the SEC. Made a playoff run, you know, went 2-1 in the playoff. I thought that was very impressive, and they were, you know, a hair from getting to the national championship last night. I mean, when Miami took the lead last night, you're like, oh my god, it probably is over. He throws 2 passes, and they're
Which
right
well,
down the
that's
field.
horrible defense. What
Yeah,
are we doing here? Finally, they decide, let's rush 4 and drop back, and you can talk about whether it was pass interference or not, but correct. The last 2 throws, you're like, "Oh my god." He at least set it up where you've got an opportunity now to maybe get a flag, draw pass interference, and get the ball spotted, you know, right near the goal line and just have a I can't stand sometimes to prevent it's just it's brutal, man.
yeah,
It's
and because he's
brutal.
a good quarterback, he's like, "We'll take that. We'll take a 25-yard chunk. We'll take a 15-yard chunk and a penalty, and we'll have a we'll have a 35-yard throw here to try to win the game right here and stun you after you were celebrating the sideline." So, no, as far as what his NFL prospects, you know, I'm not an expert film evaluator. I think he's really good. Is that going to mean he's a first round talent, top 10 quarterback? You know, like what they're projecting to be for Ty Simpson and Dante Moore right now? Maybe, maybe not. I really don't know. I think when we get a month plus away from the season, we'll have a better time evaluating his prospects. You know, when we see, you know, we'll see him throw in, you know, a t-shirt and shorts, obviously at the combine, but he's good. He's a gamer, and I like that. So when you're a gamer and you know you're a stand-up citizen and you have good stats like that, I think
Goes a long
you
way.
know, if you're in a good situation, especially in the NFL, I think you can develop along and become a nice quarterback.
I mean, do you believe it's a foregone conclusion the Raiders will draft Mendoza?
I think right now, yeah. I don't know who they're going to hire as the head coach. I mean, I would imagine John Harbaugh is not going to want to go to the Vegas Raiders. I mean, that franchise, as we know, has been a mess for a long time. Whether they've moved to from Oakland and they were in LA at one point, obviously, the fact that they moved to Vegas this century, wherever they go, trouble seems to follow them. And it was funny. I was thinking about this earlier today for some reason because you know those old NFL top 10 shows come across my YouTube feed, and then one of the revenge games was when John Gruden beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl back in 2002. And I'm like, oh my god. When you really think about it, the Raiders have been such an irrelevant franchise since the
They
early
got
2000s. Since
destroyed.
that Super Bowl. They've made the playoffs twice
Yeah,
over the course of the last, we'll just call it now quarter century. Then in the last
yeah.
25 years, they've made the playoffs twice since that 2002 season, which is
So
actually
are you advising though? Is there? Let's just say for a second you're an agent or
yeah.
you're in Mendoza's ear a little bit. Are you saying, look, yeah, you want that top 5, you're a Heisman, which by the way, if you look at the history, not every single solitary quarterback that won the Heisman turns out to be a Hall of Fame
No, of course
quarterback.
not. But I think you strike while the iron's hot. I think if you're going to be the number one overall pick in the draft, or if you're Dante Moore in this case, where
But do
I
you
know
want
I
to
know
go?
I know, I know there's a lot of chatter about the Jets. We're like like avoid the Jets at all.
Yeah, right, 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 right,
Or
right.
like if you're going to be the number one or number two overall pick in the draft, or like people or teams are going to be fighting for you, just
Right.
take it. I mean, eh,
But there's no you don't believe there's any part that, "Man, I'll go back to school."
well, Mendoza can't go back to school. Moore can go back to school.
For more. More
Right.
can,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Dante Moore could go back to school if
Yeah.
he wanted to, but I mean, again, if you're gonna be the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft, you go. And I think he's play now, the argument is against that, for him going to the NFL. I don't even think it's a Jets thing. I think it's one, you can go back to a national championship caliber team next year in 2026. You're gonna make a crap ton of money, in NIL earnings and whatever else you're gonna make in for one more year at Oregon. Again, Nike money, right? And then the other thing is, we talk about game experience, right? The better we saw with Tyler Shuck and at the latter half of the season, right? Nobody really thought that kid was going to be arguably the best quarterback out of this class in the immediacy, right? The 2025 class. But he played a lot of college football, well traveled. I know he went to 3 schools, didn't really get his shine at Oregon, but played at Texas Tech, played more at Louisville to end his college career. He's played a lot of college football. And look at the current crop of quarterbacks right now. And I'll just, just in our own backyard right here, because I'm a big Eagle fan, but look at Jalen Hurts. He played a lot of college football, right? I feel like that experience is needed. Dante Moore has not played a lot of college football. He's played 3 years of college football, and last year he sat the bench behind Dylan Gabriel. He struggled as a freshman at UCLA. Again, freshman struggles, UCLA, maybe not the best situation at that time under Chip Kelly, where it was the tail end of his head coaching tenure. So when you look at that, it's like, okay, didn't really get too much out of UCLA other than the fact that, okay, we're going to develop now. Developed behind the scenes last year, plays a full season this year, and is now 1 win away from a national championship game. Do you go back to college, or the fact that you're going to be a top 2 pick, do you just go to the NFL? Not many guys these days will stay in school. Remember when Jake Locker stayed in school? And obviously it didn't turn out well. And obviously we know how his career unfortunately did not pan out for him. But or a guy like a Matt Barkley from USC stayed an extra year in school, didn't work out for him. That type of move, it seems like it does not pan out for the most part anymore.
Well, yeah, but Matt Barkley's an interesting kind of a case study when you think about it, because he was, when you go back and you look at his career,
Mhm.
right? You're talking about Mater Day, USC. Um, there was a be careful a little bit because of the whole Todd Marinovich kind of stuff. I mean, you got to go back, right? And everyone
Mhm.
thought maybe he was going to flame out. Now,
Yeah.
he was a journeyman quarterback. He played in the NFL
Yeah.
for, maybe held a clipboard, had a cup of coffee here and there for 10 years. But I never believed that Matt Barkley was a first round talent. What do you go in the fourth round, third round?
He was a 4th round pick by the Eagles back in
Yeah.
2013.
2013,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
but as you mentioned, journeyman
yeah,
quarterback, held the clipboard, a cup of coffee at a bunch of locations, played,
right.
he played in the league for 11 seasons. I mean,
Yeah.
so you gotta give him credit. He was well traveled as a backup, but
Well, he was projected, but that's the problem where you over evaluate, Nick, not to cut you off. He was projected. I never thought he had first round talent. He was projected first round talent,
he was
which
projected
turned.
number 1 overall pick, and then he stayed an extra year at
I
USC
well,
though.
that's right. He was projected right, exactly, and then that's when his. But see, his stock also went
It
down.
did go down, but see, I believe he
He had the
got hurt
shoulder
and
injury.
struggled. Yeah, the shoulder injury. So, but that's my point. You
Yeah,
strike while the iron's hot. Yeah, I go back and look at Matt Barkley's USC career, 2011, 3,500 yards, 39
right.
touchdowns, just 7 picks, 70% completion percentage. Right, that looks like a number 1 overall quarterback. Yeah, USC, and we know there's been a lot of trouble with USC quarterbacks really panning out for the most part in the NFL. But you're like, yeah, I'd probably spend a number 1 overall pick on that kid, and then all of a sudden he stays in school and he has good numbers. Right, the very next year. 36 touchdowns again, but the turnovers double, right? Completion percentage goes down, yardage goes down, shoulder injury drops to a 4th round pick. But you see what I mean by striking while the iron's hot. So if
100%.
you
Yeah,
want to capitalize,
capitalize.
yeah, you have to capitalize. So obviously Mendoza's going to the draft. He's not coming back to school. He's out of eligibility. Dante Moore, a year left if he wants it. I still think he goes, regardless of what happens over these next game or two for Oregon here. So I think he goes. He'll be the 2nd overall pick. Maybe somebody trades up for him. Maybe he goes to the Jets. Is he finally the Jets' savior? Who knows? The Jets are, team to me a cursed franchise. Not to go off to a different tangent here, but I think the problem is, are those organizations, the Raiders and the Jets, if they draft Mendoza and more back to back, are they going to give up on them after 3 years if they're in a bad spot, or are they going to actually wise up? Which, I mean, I'm
The
not holding my
the
breath here.
Jets won't.
Yeah.
The
Are
Jets
they?
won't.
Yeah. Are they
The
going to
Jets.
wise up and give this kid the length of
Yeah.
these kids the length of the rookie contracts and making sure that they have the right support
Right.
system around them?
Sure.
Because obviously, look at Caleb Williams. I mean, Chicago's been a dead zone for quarterbacks forever, right? And then they get the right coach in year 2, and now look at them. They're the number 2 seed in the
Well,
play.
remember too, everyone wanted the GM out. They fired Eberflus. They kept the GM, gave Ryan
Yeah.
Poles, gave him the contract extension, and
Right.
then, but you get a coordinator that drops out of the sky, and Ben Johnson makes all
Yeah.
the difference in the world. The Jets, they need to build that coaching staff up, because I still don't believe Aaron Glenn is the answer.
Little Mike
All right,
McDaniel action and the Jets.
who
Can you imagine Mike McDaniel as the next OC of the Jets?
you
Did they
got?
fire their
Well,
OC
listen, Kingsbury,
or
Stefanski,
Kingsbury?
right?
If I'm the Jets and like say you draft Dante Moore, I mean, did the Jets fire their OC? They clear house outside of Aaron Glenn?
No, I
No,
think they still no, I don't think they got rid of the offensive coordinator.
no.
I'll
I
double
would.
check. I don't think they did.
I would. I mean, I would clean house in
Actually,
Aaron.
no, the Lions fired one of the former Jet
Oh, okay.
coordinators.
I mean,
It was John Morton.
McDaniel might go to Washington anyway, so it's a moot point. But if you're the Raiders or the Jets, I mean, why wouldn't you take a flyer on Cliff Kingsbury or Mike McDaniel? Maybe not as the head coach, obviously, especially if you're the Raiders. But I mean, why not bring him in as OC if you're going to have Mendoza or more under your watch for the next couple of years?
Yeah, and their OC Ingstrand is a guy that does a lot of the West Coast offense,
Yeah,
right? So that's
yeah.
kind of this. Well, but again, you need the
It's
quarterback coach.
coaching. It's all coaching.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
know this.
100%. All right, 30 seconds real quick before I let you get out of here. Where does Harbaugh land?
I think he's going to hold out at least after to this first round because I think someone's getting fired. That
Like
seems to be the general consensus, right?
LaFleur,
Like,
McDermott, or
yeah,
Fowler,
I would still, I'm still
or
not buying
Sirianni?
the Lafleur noise right now for some reason. I don't know
Why?
why. Even if they lose one the first in round one, why are you going to fire? I mean, he's a good
No, I'm not.
coach.
I'm just making sure you're paying attention.
No,
Uh,
I ignored the Nick Sirianni thing. I heard you. I
you're
heard
like
you.
half my listeners. So you're
No,
talking
I
about
heard you.
LaFleur. You're talking about Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, Matt LaFleur, I don't buy him getting fired, even if they get
Oh,
bounced
I
in
do.
round one.
I do.
Really?
I do.
I don't know. I don't know why I don't see it. I mean, I know
I'm going to tell
that
you why. Because hold on, follow me. Because
I
look
would
who's available.
John Hart was available.
Like seriously, do you believe Miami fired McDaniel because they were already eyeing up John Harbaugh? Hell yeah. Now,
Well,
was
yeah,
it
of
a
course, that's
culmination
the
of
Do
other things?
but Rich, that's the Dolphins. Matt LaFleur's won 76 games in what,
Yeah, but
7
it's what
years?
have you done for me lately? They've
He's made
struggled
the
this year.
playoffs in every year except 1 year he's been the coach
Hey, what
there.
about McDermott? What about McDermott in Buffalo? Say the same thing. Who's had a better track record, McDermott or LaFleur?
Now I gotta look at their records side by side. You're making me do math right here. Sean Mc
I mean, you
um
should do it like that. You're RU. I went to JUCO. You know, the guys had
Well,
fun with me
McDermott's been there
yesterday.
longer. I'll give you that. McDermott's been there longer, so I'd be more inclined to say, not inclined, but I would be less shocked if McDermott was let go if the Bills lose because McDermott's been there longer, and this is the year. Like this is the so Green Bay. Okay, I get it. You want to win a Super Bowl. You're a title town. Everyone's done it, right? And like Jordan Love and LaFleur, the next quarterback coach combination to like they have to win a Super Bowl. McDermott's been there forever, right? He's been there since 2017. They've made the playoffs every year except for one season. They've been to the championship game, what, twice?
Yep.
There's no Mahomes. There's no Burrow. You have these
No
young
Jackson.
quarterbacks ahead of you in the play. Like, this is the year if you're Josh Allen and the Bills, right? I don't want to hear any more excuses for Josh Allen if they can't get it done this year. Fire the coach, restructure that team if you have to, if they lose this year. But if they lose to Jacksonville round one, I would actually not be shocked if McDermott's let go at this point. Because you're 12 and
I
5 this year again, and this is the year with no Mahomes, no Burrow, and I hate to boil it down to those two quarterbacks, but
right.
you don't have anything in your way. You have
It's wide open.
yeah, you have, and nothing against these quarterbacks right now, but they've all played really well this year. But you have instead of Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar Jackson, you have Drake May, Bo Nix, and Trevor Lawrence in front of you. And not even I'm not even going to count Aaron Rodgers. If the Steelers win a playoff game and actually make it that far, I'll be a little bit more surprised. But you
Right.
have Drake May, Bo Nix, and Trevor Lawrence in front of you, not three Hall of Famers in front of you.
Let's go bring in a little juice on a Friday. All right. What do you have? Wrestling this weekend?
Not this weekend, off this weekend. But I do have I have wrestling next weekend on the 16th and the 18th. So a Rutgers doubleheader over the course of Friday and Sunday on Big Ten Plus. So check that out. And also latest On Three Wrestling podcast with Jason Nolf, 3-time NCAA champion from Penn State and current jiu-jitsu and wrestling practitioner right now. He's competing under the Real American Freestyle banner. That league is really taking off right now, a la the UFC model. So good conversation with him. That's up on my YouTube. Just search On Three Wrestling.
Always good to sneak in the shameless plugs. All right, brother. You have a good weekend.
Well, that one wasn't coming up. That was recorded yesterday, so I
You
figured
know
I'd
what? I
squeeze that one
actually
in.
asked you what you have going on, so that's not fair. I have to be. You know what? I like to know that we like to know what
The people like to know. The people like to know.
people like. Get out of here.
I'm saving them. Yeah, I'm giving them savings on some good podcasts. You know what I mean?
That's and we appreciate it greatly. Great insight. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Rich. Thanks, man.
You got it. There you have it, my guy, Nick Costco. All right. 40 past 4 o'clock hour. We'll come back on the other side. Got a lot of comments coming in. I guess you guys are waiting for me to melt down. I see some of the earlier comments that have tapped in prior. I don't even think they fired off at 4 o'clock. These are like 3:58 comments. We will get to them. There's not going to be a meltdown on a Friday. There's not. There's not going to be a meltdown. So you guys can come at me. You can attack like you did yesterday. And by the way, the consensus yesterday, The thought was that some of you guys were just basically, I mean, I was taking shrapnel. I was just coming, trying to, as soon as storm the beach and boom, you guys were just going after me. But that's okay. So what the frig Friday? So what made you say what the frig on this Friday in the world of sports? Want to welcome in also, Mom the Park Charity Fund. They do a fantastic job helping out a lot of nonprofits. Schedule 5. Also, they do a wonderful job with grant and underwriting, one of the newest partners of the show. And with that, 440 quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. John Bueller in the 5 o'clock hour. Thoughts on last night's game, tonight's contest, NFL wildcard weekend. We'll rip through these comments, I promise. Hashtag on cue, like, comment, and of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Back in 30 seconds. All right, welcome back, everyone. 445 on a Friday edition of On Q. Rich Quinones here, as always. Please get social with us at Rich Q on QIG, X, TikTok, Rich Q on the mic, and like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are on multiple platforms, and you guys have been fantastic. Let's rip off some of the comments, see what you goofballs have to say on this Friday. I'll tell you what, I already see now. This is what we're not going to tolerate on Friday. We are not going to tolerate aggressive comments and tone. And, you're talking at 3:59, Luca Brazzi comes in heavy. He comes in hot. Good afternoon, Q. Will you please explain to the new listeners that you hyping up the corporate 49ers because you were talking reckless last week, told me to mark the tape and said the Eagles wouldn't win a playoff game, or will you be a rat and try to get out of it? Wow. I mean, that is, you know what? I just, I'm entitled to change my mind with a pick in a game. Am I not? I think it's going to be very difficult for the 49ers to win this football game. It's a bad matchup for them. They're banged up. They got a lot of players questionable. Maybe they turn over Jalen Hurts. Maybe they stop the run, and maybe they get out of there with an upset win. I don't think the Eagles are very good, is kind of my point. I don't think the Eagles have the look of a defending Super Bowl champ, but the Eagles have the benefit, once again, Luca, of having kind of a soft NFC. Now, talk to me if they have to go on the road and play Seattle. Then let me see your confidence level, your cockiness, the air of an Eagles fan, the entitlement because you friggin' finally won a couple Super Bowls after being a dreck for 20-something odd years. So don't get cocky. I just don't like this matchup for the 49ers. I don't. I really don't. Man, I'll post it, but I'm just going to gloss over it. I'm just going to gloss over it because, at least we do some research. We don't have a spotter. We don't have a statistician. We dig deep. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. Luca Brazzi coming in with that kind of nonsense. Ant chimes in. I think this was regarding Alabama from the beginning. Alabama should have never been in the playoff. Too damn helter-skelter. You didn't know what team was going to show up. Notre Dame should have been in the playoffs over Bama. Yeah, it was a debate and an argument. I still believe that Miami, and obviously it's the right choice now over Notre Dame. I don't care that they made their conference championship. They got blown out. Saving that game. They didn't even show up. Looks like they lay down. Yeah, how about this? You know what's funny? For all the nonsense, for all the people that had to preach and throw in, my face when we're talking college football, and all the love for the SEC. I mean, can we talk a little bit about that for a moment? I mean, my goodness, somebody check on somebody's talking heads. Brutal. I mean, just brutal. What they locked out of the CFP National Championship again? Again? So nice little drought by the SEC. Someone check on Feinbaum. My goodness, 7 hours a day on the SEC. This was a conference that dominated college football for the better part of this century, right? 2015 to 2022, you had a team from the SEC reach the national championship game. Now you're talking about 13 out of 17 championships at one point the league won. Now, crickets. Absolute crickets, right? Honestly, don't think what's going to happen is a team below them. Honestly, I think what's going to happen is a team below them is going to trade up to get Mendoza, someone who just got a new GM, maybe likes Mendoza more. If you're the Raiders, you can't pass on Mendoza. You can't. You cannot pass on Mendoza. And I don't know how good he's going to be, but I'm just saying at this point, the body of work this year with Indiana and winning the Heisman. And by the way, I don't. I've heard this over the last couple weeks, and this is the same argument that many of you guys throw right back, not really at me, but let's just say Denver Broncos fans or New England Patriot fans. Like, well, let's stick with the Patriots. You can't fault a team for who they have in front of them on their schedule. So I know what some of you guys are already saying about Fernando Mendoza. Well, look who he beat. That's not his fault. Like, seriously, you got to play who's on the schedule. But they took care of Ohio State. Did they not? They beat Oregon early in the season. Did they not? They beat Illinois when they were ranked. Now, if you want to say it's a Fugazi rank, they were ranked ninth at the time, and they put up 60 friggin' 3, and then he whitewashed Alabama. So you can't, it's like the Drake May and the Patriots. Who have they played on the schedule? You can't fault that. You can't. You can't. And I don't know how good this kid is going to be. And I don't know how good the Oregon quarterback is going to be. All we can go by are sample sizes that we're seeing. That's it. That's really it. All we can go by is what we see. And Nick said it perfectly. We're not breaking down film 24/7. We watch the games. We try to draw an educated guess and/or opinion and try to add in a little analysis. These guys might flame out. I hope not. I like Fernando Mendoza. I think the kid's well spoken. He's humble. Seems like a good kid, right? The kid Moore seems like a good kid. You want to see these guys succeed. There's not a cockiness to him. Everyone was crushing Caleb Williams a couple seasons ago because he's crying. Is that a red flag? What's wrong with him? Is he soft? Well, now he's turned into a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback and he's leading the Bears. So we saw a little bit of the body of work, and now we're seeing it in the pros. That's great if you can light it up on a Saturday. Now, it takes a special quarterback to translate that success to a Sunday. And it is a crapshoot. Luca Brazzi, Q needs to leave the dark side and get a Costco mic. Listen, we got a deal in place with 2 other microphone companies. So we're working hard here. Luca Brazzi. We're going to have the mic flag. I got a little barter going on with one of these other companies as well. So just back off. Barkley would be one of these guys that becomes a good coach. Yeah, because he was a journeyman quarterback. And you're sitting there holding a clipboard and you're learning a lot, right? And listen, Doug Peterson, journeyman quarterback, turns around, he wins a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. Agree with you. Dante needs to go back to school because I don't think he's going to get paid as much with the rookie weight scale. NILs right now. That's another thing. 2,000 in the transfer portal. 2,000. New headphones, who dis? AKA Heat 12 Man, AKA Heisman, AKA Steeler Nation, AKA Duval, also known as Vince. What's up, peeps? I have a Miss a Q meltdown, yes, or do I still have time to create one? I mean, you know, you typically like to flourish in that area right around the 5 o'clock. Q has been stalling on the melt. There's no meltdown. There's nothing to melt down about. None. None. There's nothing to melt down about. You want to bait me. You want to get me into a pissing contest and an argument regarding me sitting there saying the Eagles might not win a playoff game. That might still be the case. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm just saying it's a tough matchup for the 49ers. It's a tough matchup for the Buffalo Bills. It's a tough matchup for the Houston Texans. Like, if we're talking about teams that should be on upset alert, am I going to stick the Eagles on upset alert? Am I going to stick the Rams on upset alert? No. I'll stick to Bills. If we're going by betting line, I'll stick to Bills on upset alert. I'll stick New England on upset alert. I think the two games that are not going to be close, and this is not spite picking, just bear with me. The two games that I think are not going to be competitive, the Rams, Carolina's going to hang in there for a little bit, maybe a half. But then the Rams are going to be like, we're not going to fool around anymore. 31-13 type of game. It's got to be. It's got to be. You can't allow a young team that's playing with house money to hang in a game. And they already turned over Stafford earlier in the season, and they beat the Rams. So they're not shying away. They're confident, but the Rams need to put them away early. And I really think the game that's going to get ugly is going to be Monday night. I think this game, Houston against Pittsburgh, I think this might be the game that sends Aaron Rodgers into retirement. I can see the Texans being all over Aaron Rodgers. I really can. But the Eagles, listen, all I've been saying during the season with the Philadelphia Eagles, or any team for that matter, and you guys should know this, like, you should know better. You look at these teams, who's trending up, who's trending down. Jacksonville is a hot team right now. They're trending up. The Texans are a hot team right now. They are trending up, right? Jacksonville has won 8 in a row. The Texans have won how many games? The Texans have won 8, I think, too. 7 or 8 in a row. Denver's got the bye. The Eagles are coming off a loss. Chicago's coming off a couple losses. Carolina's coming off a couple losses. Seattle's got the bye. They're sitting there winning 7 straight. So you got two teams that are trending up. Let's just say for argument's sake. But I can't figure out the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't really know what's going on with the Green Bay Packers, even though they're trending down because they've lost 4 straight. That would worry me if I'm a Packers fan. The Rams look like world beaters the first 2 months of the NFL season, and now they've come back down to earth. They had the 2-game losing streak. They lost to Seattle and the Falcons. Oh, by the way, on the road. And then they turn around and they lost to the Browns. I'm sorry. Not the Browns. My goodness. The Panthers. Prior to that, 31-28. So now they've dropped 3 of 6. They're 3-3 over their last 6 as they enter the playoffs. Now, they're getting a big-time playmaker and Adams back. They got my guy, Puka Puka Puka. He's done it again. They got him. They can run the friggin' football. So I think they're going to be okay this weekend. Worries me going forward in the divisional round. So don't come at me with the nonsense. Again, sounds like something a rat would say, make the playoff picks. I'll make the friggin' picks when I want to make the picks. How about that? How about that? You said, mark the tape. You are morally obligated. Well played. Well played. Well played. Rich, I think them tearing into Caleb Williams more about the confirmed reports that he was eating 15% of ownership from any team that drafted him. That's what he wanted, which I thought at the time was utterly ridiculous. I thought that was utterly ludicrous. I'm like, who the hell are you? But I give the kids, he's got some balls for that. Want a little stake, a little equity. I think NIL has made it It just means more. SEC motto irrelevant. It means the most to those willing to pay up. Well, the way college football is now, yes. Yes. Correct. The way college football is now, yes. Sarge chimes in. Q got you on the app in Delaware. Always good on a Friday. Remember you back in the zone. 12.90 a ticket. Used to do the show at Kegler's Bar. Yes, Kegler's Bar. I believe it was in Newcastle. That was a nice little spot. They had the bar area. We were live. We had the little screen behind us, and then they had the bowling area. So we would hang out afterwards and try to knock down a couple pins. I was a pretty good bowler back in the day too. I was a pretty good bowler back in the day. I didn't have my own ball, and we'll just leave it at that. But I was a pretty good bowler. But yes, uh, very good times. Sarge is a Raiders fan, so he continues to chime in. Q, I'm looking at this franchise. They got to figure it out. Is there any possible chance that Tom Brady really has his hand in the decision making here? I think Brady is going to have his hand in the decision making. I think it's set up where ultimately, I know Brady makes a lot of money in the booth. I know he does. And I know that's a big time contract that Fox is paying him. I think we're setting it up if you're Tom Brady, where Tom Brady will take over the Raiders. He will be the end all be all with the Raiders. It's coming. It's just a question of when. It really is. Sal chimes in. Q, I'm still not over this Harbaugh situation, but be that as it may, I tend to agree with you. He's going to want at least 22 million and a lot of control. He's going to want 20 plus. Yes. Yeah. He's going to want 20 plus million. And you know what else Harbaugh's going to want? I don't have a problem with this. He's going to want to have say in player personnel and have control. And I'm fine with that. That's why I said if you're the Giants and if Joe Shane is the sticking point, Joe Shane's on his ass. You fire Joe Shane. Come on, John. Let's go. What do you want? Open checkbook. Open checkbook. You're at this stage of your career and or your life, 18 seasons in, 20 plus seasons in, Hall of Fame coach, Super Bowl winning coach, you are allowed to make demands. You are allowed to make or have concessions. Absolutely. And if you listen to what his brother said, he wants to get right back out there and coach. Right back out there and coach. Just boom. Jump right in there. Mike chimes in Ohio. Q, what's your sense on Cleveland Browns? Is anyone willing to take this job? I gave you 2 names. Actually, I gave you 3 names for Cleveland. I gave you 3 names. The Cleveland Browns, believe it or not, would love to hire John Harbaugh because now you've weakened Baltimore, even though he was fired from that standpoint. And I'm not saying he would take the job. They would love to have Harbaugh. You keep him in the division, and now he gets to stick it to Baltimore 2 times a year over the next decade. Cleveland's going to make a run at Harbaugh. And I also think one of the dark horse names with the Cleveland Browns would be Kingsbury. McCarthy's name's been floated around, but I just think ultimately you have to figure out when it's all said and done, what are you doing with the quarterback? That's the biggest rub with the Cleveland Browns. At least with the Jets, you got to get a quarterback. The Raiders, you got to get a quarterback. My Jags are going to win by 14 plus. Won't be much of a game. So hold on a second. Hold on. Is Vinny Boombots right now? Is this a G pick? We just want to know. Because as you know, we do keep receipts on the air. So at 4:57, should we highlight it? Should we black marker it? Should we ink it? 14 points. And we just want to know if that's a guarantee. We just want to know if it's a G pick. If it's a G pick, you stand by it. You got to tune in to back your play. We got our motto. If you say it, play it. If you back it, you're going to stack it. But if it's not a G pick, I want to know right now. Jacksonville, 14 plus. That's a tricky spot for the Bills. That's a scary spot for the Bills, and there's a couple of reasons why. Jacksonville's run defense is sneaky good. They are. And their pass defense is coming on a little bit. If the Bills can't run the football, they are in trouble. They are absolutely in trouble. They are in for a long night. You have to be able to run the football, especially on the road in the playoffs. You have to. It's actually one of the keys that Lloyd and I talked about today. New episode of Back Your Plays dropped on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple, by the way, and on the YouTube channel. James Cook ranked first in rushing yards per game. He averaged a buck 59. Second in yards per rush, right around 5. He carried the ball about 310 times for 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns. Jacksonville has the NFL's top ranked run defense. They allow just under 86 yards per game. They're also fifth in yards allowed per rushing attempt. Stack the box, dare us to beat you, Superman, Josh Allen. And that's going to be tough. And the Bills also give up a lot on the ground. This is a bad matchup for Buffalo. This is a horrible matchup for Buffalo. It's a horrible matchup for the 49ers. It's a horrible matchup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. These are some bad matchups. Lucas says, I have all home teams except for the Rams and the Texans. Yes, Anth, I'm sorry. I will get to your comments, my friend. I apologize for that. I got a lot coming in. I will get to them. What do we got here? What did Anthony say? I got the Williams one, right? Which one am I missing here? All right, here we go. Noise around Matt LaFleur is more to do with John Sullivan, who just got hired by the Dolphins to be their new GM. Might convince Matt to come to Miami to be the head coaster. Yeah, I mean, there's the connection. You connect the dots, right? See, the sticking point to me with Matt LaFleur is the fact that policy decided we're not going to talk contract extension in August. That told me he's potentially um, on the hot seat. And they have been leaking oil. They've been leaking oil. And listen, if they're one and done, and the problem also too is you got issues with Jordan Love. Willis is banged up. He's questionable. If Jordan Love gets knocked out of that game, you got to go to Ritter. Not good. That's just not good. I mean, that game could potentially get a little ugly too. All right, 16 to book, 60 to play with. 5 o'clock hour straight up on a Friday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. Don't forget, we're on SR 1029 FM, the Game Coastal Sports Digital Network, part of the Odyssey family. Download the app. You can capture us Monday to Friday, 4 to 6. Also on the YouTube channel, X, Kicks, Rumble. My goodness. All over the place. You know what else is all over the place? Our good friend John Bueller from Fanside, kind enough to join us. Probably just sitting there smiling because the SEC is back. Let's go. You had a rough week. I mean, your Falcons deciding, hey man, let's just clean house.
Yeah, me and my fiance decided to go dry January, and I haven't wanted to drink more in my life in the last 8 or 9 days. Man, it's been rough.
Were you surprised by what Atlanta did or no? You kind of you were trending towards that.
I'm surprised that it did ultimately go in that direction in the end. You did win 4 in a row. But obviously, I think with it being so pitiful with how the Panthers won the division, they didn't even beat the Bucks, and the whole reason they're in it is because the Atlanta Falcons couldn't beat the Jets in the rain. And look, I understand that this was not a coaching carousel that I thought was going to be particularly good. I didn't expect to see John Harbaugh be let go.
Really?
We've got, I mean, there's stuff. There's stuff that's come out about him that I'm like, I don't know.
Meaning the disconnect, to divide in the locker room,
Yeah,
or the
I feel
Monken situation, the offensive coordinator.
like I'm always going to be a Monken guy because he's wearing like a Georgia sweatshirt. He's just been a great offensive mind and everything like that. But just the friction you've seen with Lamar Jackson, and then I think it was what Tony Grossi over there covering Cleveland sports
Cleveland Browns.
saying what Harbaugh's demands are for the next job. Like, nobody's going to want that. Are you kidding me?
Well, let me now I was just talking about that. So my buddy's up there too in Cleveland, and he told me the Browns are going to try to make a push for Harbaugh too. Now, here's the play: the butting the heads, because you already have a GM in place, right? And we know about that ownership group. But I tend to agree with Harbaugh is going to want a substantial amount of power. That's why I'm even more pissed that the Giants decide we're going to give a vote of confidence to Joe Shane and bring him back. And I'll ask you this as well. with the whole Miami situation, they just hired a GM, but I strongly believe that they were eyeing up Harbaugh, and that, kind of the tipping point of let's fire Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, it seems as though with Harbaugh, like he's gonna want to have say with this. Maybe this is a way to kind of push out Joe Shane in New York, potentially. Maybe Andrew Berry, who I still think highly of in Cleveland and everything like that. Obviously, the Falcons are the only team right now that does not have a GM. They're in the process of hiring their new president of football operations. That might be Matt Ryan, possibly by the end of the day. We'll see what happens there. If that does come to fruition, it does seem though that like Atlanta may look more towards Ian Cunningham out of the Bears organization because Ryan and Ryan Poles are pretty tight and everything like that. But I guess with Harbaugh is you lost the locker room. You're a special teams guy. And I think you've been in that job for 18 years and everything like that. Yes, you've earned the benefit of the doubt in some capacities, but the game's changed. I mean, I'm kind of wondering like this was a year that Baltimore should have won the division and they just couldn't figure it out.
Okay, a couple things that you bring up, because this was the point of contention yesterday during the show. So, yes, they were the preseason favorite to come out of the AFC, also win the Super Bowl. Um, Lamar Jackson banged up. They had some injuries. These are not excuses. And I'm not nitpicking with Harbaugh, not running the ball in the second half with against New England. And then obviously, I believe you could have ran one more play with Derrick Henry, give the rookie kicker a little more to work with here. It didn't happen. But you said something that's interesting. So yesterday, a lot of pushback with me was you have to go and get these younger guys, younger guys, younger guys. Okay, I understand the league has changed. My counter argument for those saying stay away if you're a Giants fan, stay away from Harbaugh is you make that hire to bring instant credibility back to the organization. Like everything else is smoke and mirrors. He's 63. Sean Payton is 62, and I don't hear anyone sitting there saying, well, Sean Payton's got a young quarterback. Giants have a young quarterback. Sean Payton has the number one seed right now, top seed in the AFC. So I know what you're saying, but there's no Ben Johnson's, McVay's falling out of the sky.
No, it's Joe Brady, and he's got like one interview at
Well,
this
what do you
point.
think of Kingsbury?
I think he's almost certainly going to probably replace Matt Nagy in Kansas City because I think Nagy will end up being a head coach in like Tennessee or something.
So Matt Nagy was also another name that they're starting to connect either with the Titans and or Cleveland, right? I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
again, we can kind of try to piece it together when the time comes. It did, Kingsbury, does he have to take that coordinator job to kind of rebuild his resume and confidence around the league?
I don't think so. I think, Dan Quinn ran off both of his coordinators after year two. I mean, clearly just the Pete Carroll you have at home isn't working in Washington, and the cliches have kind of gone sour. Jaden Daniels was livid that they got rid of Cliff Kingsbury. And look, I think Cliff's going to be a high end coordinator. I think he will get another opportunity to be a head coach, but obviously with how it went this year in Washington, you may have to kind of wait and bide your time. I do think that he is a savvy enough offensive mind where the day will come. I mean, he won decently, sort of relatively speaking, at Arizona. Like no one does that.
I like him as a coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys I like as coordinators, but I don't like them as head coaches.
Yeah, he doesn't care about defense. He didn't care about defense at Texas Tech. He didn't really care about it at Arizona. So that's going to be an issue.
So we saw that Miami hires their GM now, as Anthony's kind of asking and or speculating with them hiring Sullivan. Do you think it's now the fit where, okay, you're out of the running in Harbaugh, and if LaFleur gets fired, then, you connect the dots and you stick him in Miami with this new GM?
That's certainly a possibility here. I think that LaFleur's, I mean, you've been what, the 7 seed 3 years in a row. You've kind of just become a blander version of what you are with Jordan Love. I will say though, he does have connections to Atlanta as well. There's kind of been rumors out there if he does get let go, Atlanta may go after him. But honestly, like with the Dolphins hiring John Eric Sullivan, that does you can connect the dots there,
Yeah.
and that'd be a good move for Miami if he were to become available.
Do you believe if they do lose, he will get fired?
Yeah.
Do you believe that's a knee jerk reaction?
Who knows with the Packers at this point? I think it would be a little bit. I think you'd only do that if you're kind of convinced, like, you know what, we can get like a Joe Brady, we can get Clint Kubiak or somebody who's like up the upper echelon sort of coaches from the
But see, all
offensive
this
side.
scares me. I'm
Yeah,
telling you why. Because it just opens now the conversation. What's more of an appealing landing spot? Harbaugh, Green Bay, storied franchise, young quarterback. Harbaugh, Buffalo, ready-made All-Pro MVP caliber quarterback, Hall of Famer in Josh Allen, right? Harbaugh, not with the Raiders. Harbaugh, forget about the Jets. Harbaugh in Tennessee, no. Harbaugh, no disrespect to your
is
Falcons.
that happening? No.
Harbaugh with the Giants, who knows? Harbaugh in Cleveland, I don't know. Like, I'm worried, not insecure or paranoid, but a touch worried that if one of these three teams that I mentioned, whether it's going to be Green Bay,
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah, or I threw Pittsburgh, but he's not going to go to Pittsburgh.
Nah, I think optically you can't do that.
No. Well, Cleveland would have been funny because he gets to stick it to him a couple.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that Cleveland's desperate, and
Pittsburgh wouldn't do. Pittsburgh's
No.
not going to fire Tomlin and bring in Harbaugh because it's almost like the mirror images with the resume. Which, by the way, it leads me to this. I wanted to throw this. I'm going to give you stats right here. One coach, winning percentage 620, 16 years as head coach, 12 and 10 in the playoffs, 5 division titles, 1 Super Bowl win. Second coach, winning percentage 619, 17 seasons as head coach, 11 and 11 in the playoffs, 7 division titles, and 1 Super Bowl win. Who do you think those two guys are?
First guy's Harbaugh, second guy's Tomlin, right?
No, it's McCarthy.
Oh, McCarthy. Okay.
I bring it up because it just shows you how revered a guy like Harbaugh is.
Yeah. I'm not really on McCarthy getting one of these jobs. I figured.
Oh, Tennessee? Maybe your Falcons?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll see what happens with all of that. I'm not clamoring for that, but look, I know Atlanta's got to go an offensive mind, and clearly Tennessee's kind of got to do the same sort of thing. They got to rectify, Cam Ward and then Michael Penix Jr. and see what they're going to do. There's more jobs opening up potentially. I mean, like we were talking about Green Bay, that'd bring us to 9. That'd be a lot. And then obviously we know Buffalo's got to do it this year, or else what's the point of Sean McDermott?
Man says, let's revisit a comment you purposely skipped yesterday. Look at the NFC NFC coaches who made the playoffs and tell me what their previous job was. So, I mean, some of them were coordinators. Ben Johnson was a coordinator, right?
Matt LaFleur was a coordinator. Kyle Shanahan was a coordinator.
You know what? Because again, it's the pushback because everyone thinks you have to hire young.
I love to necessarily know if you have to hire young. You have to hire somebody
or
who
not
can make
retread. I'm sorry, retread. Let me placate the listening audience.
I think that's fair. I think the big thing is you got to have somebody who can come in there who can make an impact when the game's getting out of hand. You just can't be sitting there twiddling your thumbs like Raheem Morris or honestly John Harbaugh. You got to have some guy like I said, Andy Reid. Like when it's breaking down, he's drawing up plays to try to figure it out. Obviously, it hit the fan for the Chiefs this year, but Sean McVay is figuring it out. You got to have people like you're dealing with the best players in the sport at the highest level. The margin for error is razor thin. You got to have your coaches be impactful in crucial spots, and I think that's paramount.
So let's go, and then we'll move on to college football. Let's go on the premise that Green Bay loses, Buffalo loses. Those two coaches are out. When you look at all the available spots right now, the head coaching vacancies, in your opinion, what's the most appealing landing spot and why?
If Buffalo becomes available, that's the best because you've got Josh Allen. And I guess Brandon Beane would still probably be there. I mean, he's done a good job building up this roster and everything like that. You're kind of, if Harbaugh were to go to Buffalo, if that were to open up, it kind of would be like, the Buccaneers getting Gruden to kind of replace Tony Dungy. It's like we couldn't get past this point. Now we're finally doing it, and then maybe he'll win his second Super Bowl in year 1 or 2 in Buffalo in this hypothetical.
Yeah, that's a good point. What Man and you also said, Man said they're all first time head coaches. Yeah, but I've seen it. Again, I just maybe I'm just too stuck in my ways. I don't want 4-13, 5-12. Learn on the fly, and maybe that bites me in the fanny down the road. But I kind of said I want to dance with the devil that I know than what I don't know. Now Ben Johnson, it worked out because they also addressed the offensive line. They got a young quarterback, a running game, and they play pretty good complementary football, right?
Mhm.
But those are fair points that everyone brings up. I would like to ask you, just out of all these games this weekend in the NFL, I think the Rams and Carolina could get ugly, but man, I'm telling you, and Steeler Nation doesn't like to hear this. I think the Texans are going to just absolutely lay the lumber. I, you guys might want to mark the tape. I'll go as far to say this might be the game that uh, forces Aaron Rodgers to retire.
Yeah, this might be Jacksonville beating the Dan Marino Miami Dolphins like 63-7. Like,
Oh,
I'm
that
not
was
saying like,
savage. Yeah, Jimmy Johnson
uh,
coached that team, right?
yeah,
That was
yeah,
brutal.
like you're Houston's kind of coming along here. You've kind of got everybody pulling in the same direction. I like D'Amico as a coach. I've always thought very highly of Stroud as a quarterback here. And then the Steelers is just this kind of like they've kind of become like the Dolphins, after Marino, rupturing his Achilles. It's like we're just going to keep trotting it out there and try to convince ourselves that winning 9 or 10 games is good enough. And it's just I've just been done with the Mike Tomlin era of Steelers football for 6 years now, and I wish it could have ended instead of Harbaugh, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, that game could get ugly. But of course, Pittsburgh has a way to muddy it up and everything like that. We know that like Arthur Smith, the OC there in Pittsburgh, has ties to the NFC South from his days in Tennessee. So maybe he may have a vendetta against the Texans for some reason. He may have coached the game of his life. I don't know.
There's no shot, horrible. There's no shot that time if they lose, uh, you know, 28-10. I mean, is that it for Tomlin?
No, they'll find a way to bring it back. They'll build. He won't retire or leave until they build a statue of him in front of the
Yeah.
stadium. Like it's Stockholm syndrome, man. I can't do it.
Uh, I think it's a tough matchup for Buffalo against Jacksonville, as you mentioned.
Hmm.
I think it's a very tough matchup for the 49ers. I've been
Yes,
going back and forth on this game. I can't stand, as you know, the Eagles, and they're getting healthy at the right time, but nothing over 16, 17 weeks offensively has made me say, yeah, this team's back, the defending Super Bowl champs. I get it. It's the dance. Everyone starts new. Here we go. You find your dancing partner. I just don't like this matchup for the 49ers. And I can see the Eagles defense kind of turning over Brock Purdy a couple times.
I kind of feel that loss to the Seahawks to the 49ers is like the epitome of one that will beat them twice.
Well, Shanahan said we had to win that game. We had to win that game. We needed home field advantage.
And for as good of a schematic guy as Shanahan is, I think Sirianni is kind of more of a rah-rah guy. He can kind of rally the troops here and
Yep.
find a way to win here. Whereas the 49ers is like, dude, we could have had home field advantage through the playoffs and we would be playing Super Bowl 60 at home and we blew it. We couldn't be our biggest rival. Like, what are we
And
doing?
you win one game and you host the NFC Championship.
Pretty much, yeah. It feels like San Francisco's pretty much up against it. And then also Brock Purdy does not play very well against the Eagles. I feel like that kind of always scares me a little bit, kind of with like the pass rush or the defensive line. And again, you're right. The Eagles offense has been disjointed all year long, but this is a bad matchup for the 49ers.
Which I'm so glad you brought that up with the Eagles and their pass rush, because conversely, the 49ers, the stats incredible. They don't get to the quarterback. And I think that, the amount of turnovers they had winning 12 games, it's never really happened in NFL history. I mean, I have to go back. They just don't have a sustained pass rush. They just don't. Well, look, a lot of guys are hurt. A lot of guys are injured. So you can't really fault them for that. That's where I think the Eagles are going to take advantage of it from their offensive side of the ball, especially if they can win the battle in the trenches. That Bears Packers game, it could be, a throw a dart. What I haven't really talked too much about this Chargers and Patriots game. I mean, do you give the Chargers an opportunity here to go on the road against a young Pats team and at least keep it close? Do you like the Chargers outright? Do you like New England in this one?
I like New England considerably. I just this is like untrodden territory for a lot of guys with the Patriots, which I get would be like, okay, we don't know what they're going to do. I I don't trust Justin Herbert in the playoffs at all. And I think having to go on the road, play in Foxborough, the aura of Gillette Stadium with all that, that's just a little bit too much right here. And I will say, though, I think Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter will coach their tails off here, but Mike Vrabel's special. Mike Vrabel's just kind of got he's just the perfect like combination of brawn and brains there for the Patriots. I think New England's a scary team. They might be my pick to come out of the AFC, but again, we'll see what happens.
A little breaking baseball news for you fighting Phils out there. Max Kepler suspended 80 games after testing positive for a performance enhancing substance. So I got my little hot stove baseball nugget in there for the day. Were you, are you a Carson Beck fan?
It's difficult. I'm going to have to write an article saying that the whole. I'm about to go on work here, to cover the Peach Bowl here shortly, but I think we have to kind of like go directly between like he does merit like criticism, but he gets way too much for what he actually deserves. He's clutch. He plays his best football when the game requires it. Obviously, he probably wanted to finish his college career at Georgia. Obviously, he blew his elbow out and couldn't get drafted and had to transfer. But I always knew that he'd have a game like this or so in the arsenal in the playoffs. So I'm happy for him. He's got an opportunity to win a national championship in Miami. But the fact that like they say that he's overcame a lot of adversity since leaving Georgia, nah, he just kind of goes to the team.
Who do you like tonight? Indiana?
Oh yeah. I've been walking around Atlanta today with my fiance. A lot of Indiana. There's never been a better time to drive and just go out in Bloomington, Indiana. They're all here.
Yeah. So you'll be covering. You got the game for Fanside, and then you got anything going on with the podcast with the Falcons.
Yeah, just kind of trying to extend the runway as long as I possibly can to figure out, what our next three big hires are, president of football operations, GM, head coach. I know they're kind of finalizing the interviews they've had for a
Yep.
president of football operations. Again, it's probably going to be Matt Ryan. And then from that point, hopefully he makes some smart hires for this. But it is interesting that Jeff Ulbrich is still under contract. I
Right.
think that they want to kind of keep him. Defense was really good. So we'll see what happens there. And then the college football world, got two more games left. Running on absolute fumes right now. Crazy game last night.
Yes, it was.
Which means we'll probably get a blowout tonight. Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, man. I know you said you kind of went a little cold turkey. Maybe after this weekend you have a little hot toddy. Who knows? But keep up the great work. I know I got to let you get out of here. Great stuff. Always a pleasure. Appreciate you, John. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. See you next week.
All right. You got it. My guy, John Bueller. That's great stuff. He's a college football savant, as we like to say. All right. Got some comments coming in. I will rip through them. Kepler cheating in it. 216. All right. Quick timeout. We'll be right back. All right, 5:30 on a Friday. A lot of comments ripping through. We'll take you up to 6. Lloyd and I are probably going to bang out a Saturday edition because, see, it is funny. We give you guys basically 7 days a week of content, and then what happens is if, God forbid, I got to travel, I got a commitment, we get the banker hours comment. Very, 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 very just unforgiving when it comes to those comments. Let's go through these games. We'll go through the comments. We will give you the picks, predictions, plays right now on this Friday. Start off tomorrow with that NFC wildcard matchup, the Rams and the Panthers. One of the largest lines of the weekend. And I got to go back and double check the notes right here. See, we come prepared. We put up a lot of notes. Rams laying 10.5. The total is 48.5. I think Carolina hangs in there for a little bit. Your worst case scenario for the Panthers is Bryce Young has a couple turnovers. They're down 13-0, 7-8 minutes in that first quarter. It's not going to be good. Rams get Adams back. I believe the Rams are on a mission, even though they haven't played like it over the last couple weeks of the season. So the Rams laying 10.5. I'm going to grab the Rams, and I'm going to play the over as well. Second game, Green Bay and Chicago. The Packers are laying 1.5. We know Jordan Love's been dealing with some of these injuries to concussions. You got the Bears at home, Soldier Field, NFC, January, playoffs. It's great for the NFL when the Bears are good. That's a hell of a fan base. Caleb Williams, to me, will be the X factor and the difference in this one. He's going to make some plays with his legs. And I also believe the Bears will turn over Jordan Love. Total on this one is 44.5. Give me Green Bay. I'll take the total. I'll take Green Bay points in this one, but I'm taking the Bears on the money line, and I'll take the Bears with the points. It's 1.5 too, so you might as well take them on the money line outright. But I'm going to take Green Bay scoring 21 or more points in this one. I think they're going to have to keep it close. Sunday's contest, the Bills in Jacksonville. That's the first CBS game. That's 1 o'clock. Bills on the road, laying 1.5. We talk about Josh Allen, and Josh Allen is a great quarterback. Josh Allen is trending towards a Hall of Fame career. Josh Allen really hasn't beaten anyone in the playoffs. Like, I need that signature moment. I do. I need that signature moment from Josh Allen, and we haven't gotten to it. So I'm going to give you some player props. I got to hit a live read. We got to take a quick timeout per Audacy. 5:30, we're going to come back. We're going to finish out. We're going to roll through these, and we're going to get your comments as well. I told you we'd be back in a second. All right, we'll continue the conversation. Don't forget 5:30 on SR 1029 FM, The Game, Coastal Sports Network, part of the Audacy family. So we mentioned that Bills game and Jacksonville game, and I'll say this: if we get on Lamar Jackson, we get on some of these quarterbacks that don't win. You've got an opportunity, if you're Buffalo, to go on the road against a pretty damn good team in Jacksonville. And I'm not going to say it's an upset. Forget about the betting line. But I think Buffalo, a lot of the pressure has to be on Josh Allen. But the problem is you got a bad draw. So if Buffalo is playing the Steelers, yeah, you got to win that game. This is a tough out. I'm not going to go as far as say the legacy's on the line, but I'll say this. For the first time in his career, when we're talking about making the postseason, playing in the postseason, for Josh Allen, no Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow. So again, the sentiment is, knowing all this, it has to be the year you get over the hump. You get through to the Super Bowl. And if we're going to criticize, Justin Herbert, if we're going to criticize Trevor Lawrence, if we're going to criticize Lamar Jackson, I understand right now, aside from Jackson, those younger quarterbacks are not on the same page or level of a Josh Allen. But Josh Allen, if you can't win this game, then yes, you are open to criticism. I'm not going to say it's a legacy game. I'm not. But these other quarterbacks, you better look around, man. Bo Nix, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May. These are young guys. These are young guys. Now, if you're going to tell me, well, hold on a second, Q, he should be able to get through these guys. Sure. But we're also talking about 2 or 3 very good defenses. And if you hear Kiki chewing on the bone, I apologize for that. But you got 2 or 3 very good defenses in the AFC alone. Denver, New England, and Jacksonville. And Allen has more playoff experience than pretty much the list of AFC playoff quarterbacks combined. That's not an exaggeration. Josh Allen has played in 13 playoff games and he's won 7. The group of 5 that I just listed, they played in 9 playoff games. They've won 3 times. 2 of them belong to CJ Stroud. So you got to start having this conversation about Josh Allen, who I love. I think Josh Allen is a fantastic quarterback. But if we're going to criticize the Burrows, if we're going to criticize the Herberts, if we're going to criticize the Lamar Jacksons, you have to be open to criticism for Josh Allen. You have to. He just got a bad draw on this one. If they don't run James Cook, they are in trouble. If they can't run the football successfully, they are in trouble. They are. They got to be able to run the football in this one. And maybe you pressure Lawrence and he makes that ill-advised throw. He's been playing clean football over the last month. This is a bad draw for Buffalo. This is a very bad draw. And again, I've been wavering back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'll probably switch it tomorrow. Who knows? Right now, Jacksonville at home. I still want to give the benefit of the doubt to Josh Allen, but man, I'm not going to be shocked if Jacksonville wins this game. 49ers and the Eagles, I'll save for last. Chargers and the Patriots. Patriots, a young team. Drake May, you got young players. He distributes the football all over the place. The knock on the Chargers is, you just can't get through. You can't break through. That's always kind of been the knock. And I think for the Patriots, I'm not going to say it's simple, but I believe if they do this consistently, they're going to be fine. So the quarterback's got to keep playing at a high level. He's got to. And the receivers, if you watch the Chargers, these receivers have to find some holes and spots in that Chargers zone coverage. New England has a very good ground game, and I think they're going to open up a lot. I really do. And then defensively, the Chargers O-line is banged up. And this is, again, a bad matchup, man. They're going to turn the ball over. They will turn Justin Herbert over. You can't put it all on his shoulders. This can be a game where, again, the Chargers giving you that, showing you heart, but then halftime adjustments, third quarter, you start to see New England wearing them down, running the football, that defense out on the field, that offensive line dominating those tackles and those edge rushers. And then all of a sudden, New England scores 10-13 in the third quarter. They're locking down defensively. They're getting to Justin Herbert because that line is decimated with injury. So now all of a sudden, you need your best players come playoff time to win football games. Right now, Drake May has shown he's an MVP. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's the Patriots' best player. It's his moment to step up. I do like New England in this one. I do. And I know earlier today I kept going back and forth with Lloyd. I like New England. I thought the Chargers cover, even though it's a low line. Maybe the Pats win it on a field goal. But my gut's telling me defensively, they're going to make the adjustments in this one, and they're going to get after the quarterback. They're going to get after the quarterback. You got Barmore, you got Williams, the defensive tackles. You got a very banged up Chargers offensive line. It's just a bad matchup, man. It's just sometimes it's a bad draw. Now, is Drake May going to be a little nervous? Butterflies first ever playoff game at home. Here we go. The mystique, up there with New England. The one thing that's going to help, if we're playing both sides here, the one thing that will help the Chargers or something to watch is that the Chargers over the last month of the season, defensively, they played better, right? They played better. I mean, you just got to look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. They held the Eagles to 19, the Chiefs to 13, the Cowboys to 17, the Texans to 20, Denver to 19. And those losses, the offense, they didn't do much. But I just think this is a bad spot, kind of like that Buffalo game. I like New England in this game. I really do. Harbaugh in Buffalo makes more sense than Harbaugh in New York. What is the absolutely brain dead talk about QBX beating QBY? Quarterbacks play against the other team's defense, right? This isn't tiddlywinks. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are we talking about? Tiddlywinks. Read the freaking room. I'm on a roll here, and you're coming with that nonsense? That's a 5-minute ban on the show. Get the hell out of here. We're talking about the ATS. We're talking about the stats. We're talking about Josh Allen and who he's beating. You have to bring that in consideration, don't you? Because we're arguing that New England hasn't played anyone. Well, think about the quarterbacks that Josh Allen has played in his career. Now it's a different animal. He's going against a red hot Trevor Lawrence. Get out of here with that nonsense. I'll get to your friggin' 49ers in a minute. Don't worry. I didn't forget about the 49ers. Texans and the Steelers. Tiddlywinks. Does anyone play Tiddlywinks? Remember Jacks? Jacks was always a fun game. You never got in trouble if you played Jacks. Texans and the Steelers. What are they doing? Monday Night Football. Playoffs on Monday night? That's brutal. That's absolutely who the hell? Why you schedule a Monday night playoff game? It's goofy. Houston's laying 3 in this game. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't see this game being close at all. I think the Texans are going to knock Aaron Rodgers out. This to me, I think Aaron Rodgers, this is going to force him into retirement. Their defense is so good. They're ball hawks. They turn the ball over. They sack the quarterback. Yeah, Metcalf's coming back. This is your saving grace if you're thinking about taking the Steelers in this one. The only way the Steelers win this game is if they don't settle for field goals. Like, these drives have to end with 6. They can't end with 3. They can't. Baltimore's defense was weak. Pittsburgh barely beat them. They needed a field goal to win the game, right? The Texans have the best defense in the NFL. The Steelers' offense is just not good, even with DK Metcalf. You take him out, you got Kenny G, it ain't happening. And I think this defense, national stage, national spotlight, Monday standalone game, they can basically end the Mike Tomlin era. They can put Aaron Rodgers into retirement. Their defensive, it's one of the best units in football. And the Steelers can't score. They can't. The Steelers can't keep having 4 or 5 possessions and you're kicking friggin' field goals. Even if you have DK Metcalf out there in red zone opportunities, like the Rams use Adams. So at this moment, this to me, yeah, Aaron Rodgers can pull a little, rabbit out of his you-know-what and make a throw here and there, but he's not going to be able to scramble. He's not going to be able to get away and elude the run. I just think this is I don't know, man. I just think this defense is going to wreak havoc on Aaron Rodgers, and they're starting to hit their stride. They're red hot. This could be a low-scoring game, could be an ugly game, could be 16-3, could be 21-10. But I just the prop says I hate fading Pittsburgh as a home dog cue. I just don't see how the Steelers move the ball in the Texans' defense. That tells you then you believe Houston rolls. And that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'm kind of leaning at a 23-10. Can't wait for New England to be 7-8, 10-7 next year. Luka marked the 10-7 is still 10 wins. 10 wins, right? You're going to fault them for who they played? All right, the 49ers and the Eagles. Apparently, this is the game that a lot of people want to hear my thoughts on. It is a tough ask for the 49ers to go on the road. I think they're still a little shaken from that loss to Seattle. I think mentally they realize, man, we missed a golden opportunity here to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs where people had to come to us. And you get a bye, which is the most important thing. You win the divisional round matchup, you're hosting the NFC Championship. Purdy's going to have to make some plays, some serious plays. Now, at times, he can be a magician with the football. He can. He moves around, he can scramble, he can make the throw. But Pearsall's banged up. Williams is banged up, right? CMC takes a lot of hits. They lost a lot of players on defense. It's just, how the hell does Shanahan keep doing this? The Eagles are coming in always healthy, and the 49ers are always banged up. I'm trying to find a path to victory for the 49ers. And the one path that I see for the 49ers, the Eagles beating themselves. Meaning, you get a Hurts turnover, you get a Barkley fumble, you get a missed field goal, a blocked field goal, something special teams, a muff punt. They give up a long kickoff return. Offensively, that vanilla offense rears its ugly head with Petula. Like, if you're the 49ers, are you stacking the box and you're daring Jalen Hurts to beat you with some of the weapons that they have? I told you the pass rush and the fact that they can't turn the football, they can't turn teams over for a team that won 12 games. It's staggering. And I'm not going to sit there and say they're a horrible 12-win team. That's not fair. I thought they were going to win 10 games. That's a hell of a job by Shanahan, who I thought was going to be on the hot seat coming in. Purdy goes down. Jones plays. They've been banged up. They have to get Kittle involved. And you got to get CMC out of the backfield making some plays. He's got to get 25, 28 touches. He has to. But I'm worried that the 49ers will not be able to get to Jalen Hurts. And when you have a franchise, when you have a team that's overcome injuries in just about every part of their roster to get back to the playoffs after not making it last year, that's a hell of a coaching job. That's a testament to the character of this squad. But man, the Seattle Seahawks basically broke them. They kept them in check. They did nothing offensively. And if they did nothing offensively, if they don't do anything offensively against the Eagles, who have a crappy offense right now, what's going to happen on the defensive side of the ball? Like, you got to be able to get turnovers in this game. And the Eagles defense is starting to really come together. You know, they started to struggle when it came to the run. And then all of a sudden, now we got to make adjustments. They've been one of the best defenses in the league over the last month or so. The 49ers, if they can get quick stops and take advantage of the Philadelphia Eagles' poor offense, meaning, open possession, it's a 3 and out. Open, second possession, 3 and out. The Boo Birds come cascading. All of a sudden, Hurts frustrated, Barkley frustrated, A.J. Brown wants to read a book, Smith frustrated, Goddard frustrated, Sirianni doing his theatrics on the sideline. If they can keep that offense in check and disrupt Hurts a little bit, because he will. Jalen Hurts will hold on to the football too long. Jalen Hurts at times has a problem reading down the field with his eyes. Jalen Hurts will turn the football over. He'll take a bad sack. That's going to keep them in the game. And that's all you're really asking. Stay in the game. And Shanahan has to figure out a way to find opportunities where it doesn't look like there's any. Now, yes, the Eagles were better down the stretch. The defense is just 30th in rushing success rate. If the defense can keep it close, except, you're looking at a heavy dose of CMC. I think Kittle could have a big night. The Eagles, historically, they never cover tight ends. This can be, Kittle can get his 8, 9, 10 receptions, a $110, get in the end zone. They're just going to have to figure out a way to manufacture points. That line's 5.5. And both teams have major flaws. They do. The strength, the 49ers offense, the Eagles defense. The weakness, the Eagles offense, the 49ers defense. So is Barkley going to go for a $165? It's just a bad matchup. And I think the Eagles, being fair and objective, just have more firepower. And it's one of the reasons that I'm leaning towards them. And I know what I said a while ago. It's a bad matchup, man. And part of me is like, damn, why can't the 49ers ever be, healthy? It's just unfortunate. So, yeah, you want to mark the tape. The Eagles are going to win this game. And I see the Eagles winning this game 28-13. That's the type of game. And you know what? We're putting it in marker. Should I just throw it on the board? 28-13. This is not a reverse mush. This is not a spite pick, contrary to what some listeners might think. It's just a piss poor matchup for the 49ers. They're going into playoffs at the worst time, and they're getting the Eagles at the worst time. And sometimes that just happens. That's football. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just football. The 2 games, 3 games, Texans I don't think is going to be close. The Rams, I think they pull away. And I'll say the 49ers, if they can't hang in there the first half of the game, then it's really going to get ugly. Like if they're going in the locker room down 17-6, 17-9, and you're thinking, oh man, they should be down 24-10. Like, some of those games where you feel you're watching it and man, we're fortunate to only be down one score. Then the Eagles start to tighten up a little bit. Eagles got to run. It's pretty easy. Just run Saquon Barkley. Just run them. Just run them. I mean, I would love to grab 6. I can't do it. Am I going to play the over? I'm leaning towards it. 44.5. 28-10 get you there. 26-10, 26-13 to get you there. Tom and Summers point, Q, I actually think Barkley is going to go for about $1.85 in this one. Have you watched the 49ers run defense? The defense stinks, but they're also hurt. They're banged up. So if you stack the box, now what are you doing? You're putting your secondary, you got DBs on an island against Smith, Brown, Goddard. They just figure out a way to beat you, the Philadelphia Eagles. They figure out a way to wear you down, right? So if it's not Barkley, it's going to be Bigsby. It's going to be Shipley. If it's not Brown, then it's going to be Smith. If it's not Smith, then you're going to turn around. It's Dotson. If it's not Dotson, it's Goddard. If it's not Goddard, it's the backup tight end. Their offensive line should do a good job of keeping Jalen Hurts upright. I mean, I wish I found that stat for you guys because when I read it today, when we were on BYP, I was like, wow. I mean, they just do not get to the quarterback, the 49ers. They just don't, and they don't turn the football over. All right, I got some interesting stats for the past season I want to rip off as well. We'll get to more of your comments. Way to go out for a limb when I said Eagles by 14 on Monday. I said 28-10, so that's really 18 points. A lot of 49ers fans are salty. I mean, I don't know what it is on a Friday. Quick timeout. We'll come back. All right, a couple minutes to play with. 20. I did put it in a Sharpie. Let me give you, how about some of these stats for the past season? Or just some interesting little tidbits for you. New York Jets had 0 picks this season. Quinyon Williams had 1 interception. New York Jets as a whole, 0 picks. Rushing touchdowns this season. I was like, wow, when I saw this stat. So you guys know who led the league in rushing touchdowns this season. Obviously, phenomenal back that we already know of. I don't know if you guys actually follow the NFL at all. But let me give you the teams. So you talk about rushing touchdowns this season. Rams have 18. Every other team, 10, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. The Jets, I mentioned that. Oh, players with exactly 1 receiving touchdown this year. Now, these are wide receivers: Darius Slayton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sterling Shepard, Xavier Worthy. Now, let me give you Jameis Winston, Caleb Williams, Tristan Wirtz, Jeffrey Simmons. I thought those were pretty interesting, fun little tidbits and stats. Juice chimes in on my man Anthony, Pleasantville, big time 49ers fan. Q, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to get blown out, but man, they have to keep this game close going into the fourth quarter. Yeah, but you can say that with a lot of teams that you think are going to be, or we're looking at teams that we think maybe might get blown out. We're looking for the upset. Mel, big time Rams fan. Q, I got you locked in, brother, out west when you coming back to a little MMA very soon, Melly Mel. Rams 35, Carolina on my mind, 13. Yeah, this could be the game where Stafford kind of goes off, right? I mean, look, regular season's in the books. You don't have to worry too much now when we talk about the MVP conversation. But I think this one's going to get ugly. I do. So I'll read it one more dime for you. We'll rip through these. I do like the Panthers. I'm sorry. I like the Rams laying the points. Uh, I am going to go with the Bears at home. The Bills on the road, but it's not going to shock me if Jacksonville wins this one. The Eagles by double digits. Pats at home, and the Texans all over the Steelers. And I do believe tonight is going to be a little more of a coming out party for Mendoza. I know the line right now is 3. I love Indiana in the spot. I would play the over. It's going to be 50.5. I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I like this Kim Mendoza. He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. Uh, it's just, if Oregon can't run the football, they're going to be in trouble. But I definitely like Indiana in this spot. Let me rip through a couple more of these comments before we get out of here. What do we got here? Q, I know you always talk about in-game adjustments. Out of all these head coaches this weekend, who do you trust the most? That's Kevin in Tom's River. To make an in-game adjustment or just overall? I mean, you would have to say McVay this weekend. Johnson, Young, Cohen, Young, Sirianni, Shanahan. I can't say I trust to make Shanahan gets a little conservative at times. I would say the coach I have the most confident in this weekend, and it's got to be Sean McVay. He's got the body of work and the resume. Yeah, Sirianni won a Super Bowl, but let's be honest. We all know he's just, a cheerleader. Man, imagine that offense is just bad first half of the game and the 49ers somehow are just keep it close. And then you get that tip ball, you get that pick six, that Saquon fumble, pickup return for a touchdown. All of a sudden, the 49ers are up 17-14, 17-16 in the fourth quarter. It's going to be a very precarious, time, right, for the Philadelphia Eagles. It will be. It will be. But I enjoy Wild Card Weekend. I do, because you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes these games are absolutely goofy. They really they're really, yeah, they're just fun to watch. Chris chimes in Old Bridge. Q, my highest confidence play this week, it's going to be the Texans. I'm laying the 3.5. For a fact they're going to force a ton of Chris Boswell field goals. Yeah, you might want to play that too. Chris Boswell field goals. You look at CJ Stroud, Q. He needs to just connect on a few big plays. If he does that, Pittsburgh is done. I believe so. I really do. Now that line is now sitting at 3. You don't have to worry about the hook. And I know some people get scared with the road favorite 3.5. I would take the Texans right now. They are peaking at the right time. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are not a very good football team. They're not. Let me squeeze a couple more. Greg in Jackson chimes in. All right, Q, gun to your head. Stefanski, Harbaugh, go. For the Giants, I already told you, it's got to be Harbaugh. Am I going to be disappointed if the Giants don't hire Harbaugh? Yes. Will I be pissed if it's Stefanski? I'll deal with it. Will I be really mad if it's McCarthy? Yes. If that answers your question, I will. Yeah. He's going to command a lot. He's going to command a lot, and rightfully so. And it's just a question of what franchise is going to budge. And we're going to learn a lot this weekend. We're going to learn a lot because if Buffalo loses, if Green Bay loses, you might have two head coaches that are right there. C-Man chimes in. Q, did you think Chambliss stock rose last night? I did. I don't know how good this kid's going to be. I think, late first round or early second. I think you always want, it helps when you get some of these quarterbacks like that kid last night play well, because now all of a sudden recency bias, oh, well, does that mean he might go number 2 over more? I'm not going to say that, but it makes the conversation a little different, and it helps out a team like Arizona or the Jets that need a quarterback. If they want to overreach. Now, the Jets, do you like this kid more than Moore? Because Mendoza to me is going to the Raiders. It's just, I just can't see it any other way. Is Arizona going to go defense with the 3rd pick? The Jets have a lot of draft picks. They do. If Mendoza goes to the Raiders, the Jets are not trading that pick. They're going to draft Dante Moore. They are. And they're going to roll the dice and see what happens. Now, Mendoza's the Heisman Trophy winner. And this is why you can't, like last night's a perfect example. And I was going back and forth with a couple guys on X with this. When you really take a step back, Chambliss played well, right? But you got to pump the brakes. He's not as polished as Mendoza. He didn't win the Heisman. He tried to will them back in the game, and the knock on Mendoza, forget about picking your opponent. Guy got hurt in the Big Ten championship and rallied them, right? So the kid made some big throws down the field. The Raiders are going to draft him. And if the Raiders don't draft him, it's malpractice. Okay? Will Beck be a late first rounder? Perhaps. But the recency bias, we always do that. Like if Fernando Mendoza stinks up the joint, they lose by 10 tonight, then all of a sudden you're going to sit there and say, what? Oh, man, how about that? He's not ready for the big time. Moore's the guy. No, it's still going to be Mendoza. We just have this innate ability, we put too much stock in the recency bias. We do. 49ers, Pearsall, Williams among 6 listed as questionable. So you might not have your left tackle. You might not have one of your receiving weapons. You might not have Dean Winters, your linebacker. You also might not have Gifford, your other linebacker. You might not have White, your lineman, and you also might not have a cornerback. So I am actually, hold on. I'm not doing 28-10, man. Eagles 42-10. All right, fast approaching 6 o'clock. Good stuff on the comments. Always appreciate you guys. Thanks to Nick Costco, John Bueller from Fanside, Costco from all 3. New episode of BYP Drop. Lloyd Vance and I broke down the games. We're going to sneak on tomorrow, mañana, Saturday. We'll preview all the wild card games. And I'll just show it one more time. We went 28-3, but now we're going 42-10. Philadelphia Eagles all over the 49ers. Broncos country, let's ride. I mean, that was 2 hours ago, Michael. Come on. I understand you got to buy, but you know what? Jump on a little earlier, will you? Fast approaching 6 o'clock. Don't forget, we're powered by Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network, AUDACY app. Got to get out of here. We got some hoops to call. Download the app. Check out Coastal Sports Digital Network. Subscribe, like, comment to the YouTube channel. all the new commenters, listeners this past week, thank you so much. Have a good Sports Friday. We'll be back in the saddle manana on a Saturday edition of On Cue. It'll be a wild card weekend edition of On Cue, powered by our good friends over at Plate Against Sports, fresh roasted coffee, 20% off your first purchase. You guys have a good Sports Friday. Enjoy the college football playoff tonight. I think Indiana cruises over quack, quack, quack. Little night in the NBA. We'll give you a little hot stove baseball as well. And tomorrow we will go hard with the NFL playoffs and wild card weekend. Michael, you have a wonderful football weekend as well, my friend. Appreciate you always chiming in. Good stuff with the comments. You guys, as always, be safe, be sound. Thanks for tuning into a Friday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.